Welcome to Oracle Application Express, the user interface, templates. In this series of lessons, we're going to take a look at some of the user interface building blocks that come along with Oracle Application Express. We're going to start by looking at templates. A template is a way of defining the way a graphical element looks on your page. Up until this point, we've been taking the default values whenever it came time for us to create a new page or a new element on the page. In these set of lessons, we're going to start taking a look at the user interface elements. We're going to see how we can use templates to our advantage when it comes time to design the user interface for our application. Templates are contained under shared components. So if we go to the main page for our application and click on shared components, we'll see a section that organizes all of our user interface elements. If we click on templates, we can see all the templates that are available to us for this application. Where did these templates come from? If you remember way back to our earliest lessons, when we created our application, we had to specify something called a theme. A theme is nothing more than a collection of templates. Once we specify a theme for the application, all of the templates that are associated with that theme are then available to us. You can use all of the templates that come with a theme inside of your application. If you notice on the right-hand side, you can also copy themes inside of a template. This is one of the most common ways to extend the functionality of the graphical elements inside of your application. Note that if you copy a theme and modify it and then save it inside of the template, the next time a developer or a group of developers wants to use that theme as part of their application, they're going to see all of the templates that you copied. Understand that one of the most common things to do is to take an existing theme, look at the templates that are in that theme, copy the templates, and modify them for your own purposes. If I use the drop-down box, I can see that I've chosen theme number 26 as part of my application. If I look at all of the templates that are associated with this theme, you'll notice that there's 9 different types of templates: breadcrumb, button, calendar, label, list, page, pop-up LOV, region, and report. For all of the different types of templates, there will always be one that is assigned as the default value. You'll see it here with the check mark. As I develop pages inside of my application, this page will keep a running count of how many times I've used this particular template inside of my application. So you can see there are 6 instances of the standard report theme in use inside my application. If I click on the link here, I'll see a list of all the pages where it's being used. Some of the templates allow me to see a preview of what they're going to look like. If I want to see an example of what the login page looks like, I can click this little play button here, and a window pops up that shows me a rough estimate of what this page is going to look like. Everything that's included inside of these 2 pound strings signifies that this is a substitution string. Under normal circumstances, you don't have to worry about substitution strings. The wizards inside of Oracle Application Express are going to generate code that will reflect what your page should look like based on the answers that you give in the wizards, and then they'll use these templates and substitute the actual code that goes in each one of these sections. Let's take a look at the login template now. If I click on the login link, I'm taken to a page where I can edit the page template. This particular template is part of the number 26 Productivity Applications theme. If I go down to the definition and I look at the header information that's associated with this particular template, you'll see that it references a cascading style sheets file called 4_2.css. This CSS file is going to contain all of the information regarding things like uLogin container or uBody container. Whenever I see this div tag inside any pieces of my template definition, I know I can find information inside of this CSS file. So when I want to see information about uBody container or uLogin container, I know I can see that information in the style sheet that's been defined for this template. How do I actually go through and see what's in this 4_2.css file? We're going to have to do a couple of things to our database for us to get access to this particular file. The first thing we want to do inside the database is open up an FTTP port to the actual database. This is an FTTP connection to the database, not the server that the database is running on. I can open up a port to my database by executing this command: dbms_xdb.set FTP port. I can then test to see if the port is open by executing this command, select dbms_xdb get FTP port from dual. And you can see that it comes back with 2100. I'm going to hop into a free tool called FileZilla. I'm going to connect to my database server, and I'm not going to connect to the FTP port on the server. I'm going to connect to the port that I just opened up with those previous statements. I'm going to use the username system, and I'm going to use my database system password to connect. Once I connect to my database, I can go into the images directory. You would think the CSS file would be in the CSS directory, but it isn't. I have to go down to themes, and you see there are different directories for all the different themes that are out there. Inside of my Apex application, we notice that we're using theme number 26. So if I scroll down to theme number 26, you can see that there are 3 directories immediately underneath that: a CSS directory, an images directory, and a JS directory. If I go into the CSS directory, you'll note there's the file, 4_2.css. If I want to see that information that's in that CSS file, I can then pull it up by using some of the tools inside of my FileZilla application. I can either download the file, or I can view or edit it. I selected View and Edit, and it pulls up in my default editor, Notepad++. Unfortunately, it doesn't format the file very well, so you can see there's a lot of information here on the screen. And if I do a search for something like ulogin container, I can find the definition inside my CSS file for what ulogin container looks like. Just to make things a little easier to read, I went through and I edited this file to separate the information. So here are some of the ulogin container section entries inside my CSS file. You can see things like the background that it's going to use for this particular page, the fonts that it's going to use, the layout it's going to use. If you're familiar with CSS files and how to format screens inside of your application, this page is an incredible reference to how all of these pieces of information are going to be used to control the look and feel of your application. At the bottom of every edit page template page, we can scroll down and we can see all of the substitution strings that can be used inside of this template. You can see these correspond to the substitution strings that we saw when we were taking a look at a preview of this particular template. Let's take a look at copying an existing template. On this page, I can go to, let's say, the login page. I can copy and give it a new name. If I now go to my page section, you'll see that not only do I have the login page, but I also have the Chris login page. Let's say I made changes to the Chris login page, and now I want to use that page template for my login page. I haven't really made any changes to it, but let's say that I've gone ahead and I've made those changes. How do I assign an existing page to a new template? If I go back into my application, and I go to my login page, I can right-click on Login here at the top of the page rendering column. Under Display Attributes, I can change the page template that's associated with this page. Instead of using the login page template, I can use Chris login. Now it's going to be exactly the same because I just copied it over, but that's how easy it is to go ahead and make a change.